Hey, it's about that time. Yes, thank you for joining our Let's Just Talk About It podcast. We are here to do just that, talk about it. This is the premier place to have a listening ear to some amazing topics and discussions, phenomenal guests that will push you to consider the power of change. Yup. What's change got to do with it? A whole lot, my people. Nothing is off the table. Y'all ready? Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Let's Just Talk About It, Instagram at Dr. K. Michelle Watson, and on Twitter, Dr. K. Michelle Watson. I absolutely know you're going to enjoy our time. So let's get straight into it. Good, great day. This is season 2 of Let's Just Talk About It. I'm your host, Dr. K. Michelle Watson, and change is what I do. It is. And so I wanted to just kick off our season 2 podcast. I'm talking about some things that are really important, and I'm so glad that you joined us. I'm so glad that you're listening in, right? And so I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes as I start having conversations. And ultimately, first, I want to say thank you so much to my amazing production team, Kratos Media, and my amazing longtime mentor, Dr. Ronnie Song, for his instrumental music of our intro and outro. I'm so grateful for amazing partners in this phenomenal work that I get to do every single day. And I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you as usual because I'm always delighted to have conversations about the amazing power of change. And I like to just talk about things that are really important to us as women, as men, as partners in the work. Sometimes challenging conversations, sometimes tough conversations, but conversations nonetheless that need to be had. And tonight, I hope to not disappoint. You know, before we ended season 1, our last episode was with my amazing 2 daughters, Ty and Desi. Hey. And we talked about a woman's choice. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about that in this episode of season 2, first episode of season 2. And, you know, we had that great conversation because Tylin and Desi are about 8 years difference, 9 years apart. And when Ty decided, she got married at 19, she had her first child at 20, and then she had 2 more children, my phenomenal grandchildren. And then Desiree, which is about 9 years difference, I think about 8 years, she waited quite some time, almost 20 years, really about 20 years before she decided to have her first child. And both amazing women that decided to make different choices. And they deserve to make their own choices. Their choices were very much different than my choices. Their choices were very much different from each other. But nevertheless, it was their choice. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how important it is that a woman has a choice to decide what is right for her. You know, there's itty bitty little clause in the 14th Amendment that guarantees against state deprivation or of liberty, of the right to privacy, and to control one's own body. That remains a very core pillar of our reproductive autonomy. And it is so important that we remember that. And it seems like everybody and anybody has an opinion about what a woman should do or decide about her own body. Who does that? It seems like more people are doing it than they ought to. And they really need to stop, right? Christian nationalists, the Supreme Court, you know, some parts of government, and so many others are finding that they have a need, if I might say, to tell a woman about her own body. And, you know, whether, you know, and her reproductive system or her reproductive choices, whether, you know, whether she decides to have sex, whether she decides not to have sex, whether, you know, she decides about her health, any area of her reproductive, reproductive systems, whether, she wants to have children, whether she doesn't want to have the children, whether she wants to have children using different means and methods. All of those choices should be for women and women only, no one else. Now, if you want to add value to the decision that she makes, go for it, especially men. Now, I love me some men, and even better, I love me some black men. As a matter of fact, I got me a man, and I love everything about what he does and how he contributes to my life. But he doesn't tell me how to manage my body. He doesn't tell me what's right for my body. He doesn't have the right to tell me what I can and cannot do about my body, especially being a 61-year-old woman. Nor, when I got married in my early 20s, did my husband, now ex-husband, tell me what I could do about my body. In no way, shape, or form did he do that, right? And I don't think he was ever in a place that he thought he needed to do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, right? We're going to talk a little bit about Roe v. Wade, which was overturned, ending a federal constitutional right to abortion in the United States. And as a result of that, now 1 in 3 women have to make tough choices about their right to do what's important for their body. And I think there's about 18 states now that are banning or severely restricting abortion. Now, everyone has a choice to decide on where they stand. I'm pro-choice. I stand 10 toes down on that. It is what I believe. It is what I stand for. Nobody better come for me, because it is indeed my choice. I believe that women should decide what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And there could be a multitude of reasons why it works and a multitude of reasons why it doesn't work. But the bottom line is that it stands with women. I chose to have all 4 of my children. And I'm grateful and honored and blessed that I had the capacity and the mental capacity to make such a decision. And so it's important that we stay in a position that we can decide what's right for us. And as much as we love men and all that they contribute to our households and families or relationships or anything of that nature, it's still our choice. It's still our choice. So we will continue to have this conversation, and we'll continue to highlight what's important, at least from my perspective, because this is my platform and I get to do what I want to do. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes. Go ahead and shake your head. Yes. I get to talk about what's important, right? So, a few years ago, I had this conversation with a friend of mine, and we just talked about, all the challenges that are faced women. And, he made a commitment to say, you know what, I'm going to back our women and hold, them, let them be accountable for what's important to them and support them in every decision that they make. And I think that is so important. And I applaud him as a man for making those choices to support us as women. But the bottom line is, there's no legislation out there today that dictates what a man should do with his body. So there should be no legislation that should dictate what we do with our bodies. And that's one of the most frustrating things that we have faced with as women, because the choices that we make are always being seen as needing to have approval for someone else, and it doesn't need anyone else's approval. If I said it, if I spoke it, if I believe it, it is what it is for me, right? And I believe that, and I want my granddaughter. I have one granddaughter. I have my granddaughter to be able to make those choices. I have bonus granddaughters. I want them to be able to make the choice about their lives. I don't want anyone else to be able to decide for them in their generation of what works for them and what doesn't, right? And so that we must make a stand for what that is now, right? In order for the next generations to benefit from many of the decisions that we get to believe and implement in our lives today. But I'm so encouraged. I'm so encouraged because that I have an opportunity to use my voice, and my voice is extremely important to me. I've had this voice for a long time. As a matter of fact, 61 years I've had this voice. I'm a middle child, so I've always had something to say. Ask my mother, right? Always had something to say. So I'm standing on everything that I believe about a woman's choice. So I want you to make sure you stay connected to us. So as we get to wrap this up, because I told you to stay with me, stay with me. I want you to stay with me this season. We've got a lot to talk about. So I want you to make sure you engage with us every Sunday at 8 p.m. on Facebook, on YouTube. Go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, Let's Just Talk About It with Dr. K. Mischele Watson, and connect with us, because I think I got a lot to say, and I want to hear what you have to say. We're in this thing together. I see you. So make sure you join us and talk with us about the many things that are relevant to your life today. I want to talk about it. And stay connected. So subscribe. Go over there and subscribe. We've got a lot going on. So I want to hear from you. I want you to have a blessed and amazing, and we'll see you next week. God bless. Well, everyone, that's all we got time for right now, but we'll keep the conversations moving and topics flowing. Join us for a new episode every Sunday at 8 p.m. for Let's Just Talk About It. Don't miss it, and don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We'll always have a little something for you if you do. I'm your host, Dr. K. Mischele Watson, and I'll see you on our next episode. Be blessed.